and welcome to the Traverse Area District Library's presentation of face costumes with Standout Stilting. Today we have one half of the Standout Stilting duo with us. Jillian is joining us today, and we're excited to be here and be able to offer this during the October Halloween programming that we've been hosting Saturdays. So next Saturday we have a scavenger hunt here at the library that is both inside and outside. So you can pick up your Halloween scavenger hunt list at the youth services desk and then head out to earn yourself a Halloween present. So we are going to get started with the program though. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Jillian. Good morning, Jillian.
Good morning, Mr. Andy. Hello, everyone. I'm gonna wait to get the echo out. 1 second. Okay, good morning, everyone. Yes, my name is Jillian. I am one half of the duo of Standout Stilting. We're a Traverse City area-based stilting and costuming duet. We do stilt walk around, and you might have seen us at various local events in previous years, like the TC Light Parade and also Cherry Festival or Leelanau on Cage, which happens up in Northport. You might have seen one or both of us on our stilts up there. Today, it's just going to be me. Angela is not feeling well, and that's a reminder to everyone that we are still in a public health crisis. And she does fill one of those roles as an essential worker working in home care. So shout out to all those essential workers out there, all of you in healthcare, and all of you who bring us our food. Thank you so much for what you guys do. I know that Angela would agree with me in saying this, that if we can bring a smile to your face, then we have done our job. So today we're going to be talking about face costumes, and essentially, because we all have to keep wearing our masks, we are still in a public health crisis. So you know what? Let's turn these blank masks into something really fun. They can be our canvas. So we are going to be creating and crafting on our masks today. One thing I want to mention, I'm going to mention the materials that I'm going to be using today. For the purposes of today, we are going to be using these sort of blank disposable one-use masks. If you would prefer to just make a costume right on your cloth mask, go right ahead. It's up to you. I would recommend that you consider a sewing option or glue that is going to work on a fabric for your fabric face masks. With these disposable ones today, we're mostly going to be working with hot glue because it's fast and easy, but you could also use tacky glue if you do have the time and you're going to let it sit all day, let's say, because it probably would need about all day to set up before it's ready to wear on your face. We're going to use hot glue for our demonstration. The things that you're going to need right now are some felt, some pieces of felt. You're going to need scissors, preferably sharp scissors. So if you're a younger person, when it comes time to cut, you might want to ask the adult or older person next to you, but you do want these pretty sharp to get nice, clean shapes. I mentioned hot glue, but if you're using Elmer's glue or just tacky glue, that's okay. You're going to want that. I do suggest grabbing at least a pencil and some paper, or a marker and some paper. It's always good to plan out your design first, but we're going to jump right in. It's going to be follow along. I'm going to be giving suggestions. Please don't feel like you have to use this suggestion. These are just ideas to get you inspired in the spirit of maker and maker fairs and things like that. This is just to get you inspired, and I hope that it gives you the ideas to create your own character, your own costume. So I'm going to turn the camera here. Give me 1 second. Okay, we are right side up. Excellent. All right, here's my hands. So I'm going to just bring this up to show you two things. I have two different kinds of disposable masks here. One's got that blue side. You might have a white and a colored side. I just want to point out that the colored side is actually intended to be towards the outside. So that's how we would be using this. The other way you can tell is you're going to find that nose piece. That's going to be our up side. It's got that little piece of metal that goes by your nose. You'll notice that these pleats open in a certain way. You want the pleats to be folding downwards. So let me lay this down. Here's my nose metal, my pleats fold downward. If I were to use this way, I just want to point out these pleats fold upwards, and it's okay, but for some of the things we're going to talk about today, it's going to get really awkward if those pleats are folding to the upward side. So everything is with these pleats going downwards. I'm just going to readjust my camera once more. Okay, here we go. So let us get started. The first face costume that I want to talk about today is the easiest in my opinion, and that is the classic mustache. Really easy, super classic. It's the shape we're going to start with today is a mustache. This could be as big and outrageous as you want it to be, or it could be quite small and subtle. You'll notice I didn't include any lips or a mouth. That is kind of the fun part about a mustache, is just add it to your mask and it's instantly more fun than it started with. A few things to note. When we talk about our mask here, you want to locate the center. You're going to locate your center, and you're also going to need to put this on your face and figure out how far down does your nose come, where it sits, where it wants to sit on your face, and how far down does your nose come before your actual mouth. You might think it doesn't really matter, I'll just glue this on wherever and it'll be fine, but I'm going to switch the camera up to show you, because that's exactly what I did on this one, is I glued this onto my mask without putting the mask on my face first, and I'll show you how it can look really silly if you do it that way. So I also am going to point out that I used blue on this side, it's white. I used the white side. These pleats open upward to the nose piece, and I glued it on without finding placement first. So let me just show you what I mean by that. When I put this on my face, the mustache is actually on the tip of my nose, so it stands out really far, which might be something you're going for if that's what you want to go for. But I do highly recommend pick that mask up. You're going to put it on your face. And the first thing to do right now is to find that center of my face and how far down to my real mouth and how far down does my nose come. Everyone's got a different shaped nose, so you can't always just pick the center of the actual mask. So that's pointing that out to you now. It'll be good to keep in mind as we follow along. So we're going to start with our mustache. If you have some blank paper, I recommend grabbing a sheet of that right now. Okay, a mask. This doesn't have to be extremely precise. However, there's two options here that you might want to do. Use your paper, plan out your design, and once you have it finalized, you might actually use your scissors and cut out from the paper the shapes. That way you have it as a pattern, and you can place the paper pattern right onto your felt piece, and then make sure you're cutting out the exact shape that you want. Or if you're like me, you're just going to use the paper to plan out your design. I kind of want a mustache that's doing this sort of shape. It's kind of a walrus shape mustache here. Excuse me, I just realized my camera was still upside down. I'm going to do a mustache. I want it to be kind of a bigger walrus mustache or something like that. You might decide that you kind of want to do one of those fun sort of curly and skinny mustaches. or something even smaller, completely different, or you might want to go with something that's a little more like the full, it comes all the way down and it's a little more full like that. Up to you. I would say figure out how much felt that you have to work with. And I love using pieces like this that are scraps left over, and I might try and see what would fit within this. I think that my big walrus mustache is going to fit perfectly in here. So draw out your shape that you want to do first, okay? Mustaches generally, there's a center point, and there's generally kind of an arcing up and coming out to the side. You want to make that symmetrical on the other side. Find your center point, draw a shape from there. I just have a few suggestions right here. If you feel more comfortable using this piece of paper as your pattern, go ahead and get your final shape and then cut out from the paper. And then you're going to use that piece of paper as your pattern to lay it on top of the felt. And that is how you will cut out the shape that you want from the felt. If you're a little more comfortable and you don't need to use the paper pattern, you just need the design, you could even use something like a piece of chalk or a fabric marker, and you could just draw out roughly where you think you're going to cut out onto the felt. If you're, I would say, an advanced crafter or just extremely comfortable, you're going to be like me. We're just going to cut out shapes right from the felt, sort of what I call free-handing the shape. And for me, that's kind of the fun part, is I don't know exactly what will come out. It's a little bit like tie-dye. You don't know what will come out. Just go for it. So I'm going to cut out this sort of bigger mustache shape and show you what that looks like right now. Well, I'm cutting out. It would be awesome if you are currently on and attending in the chat, if you could just say hello and your name and where you're calling in from, and I'll have Andy looking at that to tell me who we have here joining us this morning. Again, thank you for tuning in. This is the face costume follow along here at the Traverse Area District Library in beautiful Traverse City. I'm going to cut this out, and if you take a moment right now in the chat, go ahead and, if you feel comfortable to do so, introduce yourself, say your name and where you're calling in from. Well, I cut this out. Erica from Illinois. That sounds like that could be my cousin Erica. Could be, or the other one. My oldest sister, Jenny from Milwaukee. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Aiden. Welcome, Aiden. Kyan and Kaylin. Welcome. Welcome. Youth staff members, Linda and Michelle, thank you for joining in today. And Mom. Hi, Mom. See, it's a nice family affair here. Okay, so Marshall and Michael. I know you from Milwaukee. Welcome, joining us. Marshall and Michael. Welcome, everybody. Now, again, I am just going to give some suggestions for easy. We're starting with the easy, and we're going up to the a little more challenging. And but as we are going, I hope that this can kind of bring up inspiration and ideas for you for what you can do. Once you get more comfortable, you see that this is actually really easy. I've created about 10 examples that I'm going to share with you, and make more than one if you want. If you only have one, let's say you only have one of these disposable masks with you right now, and you have that little bit of anxiety about making something permanent. I definitely have this as a crafter. Don't glue it down yet. You can follow along, cut out the shapes that we're working with right now, and you can play with placement and all that. And felt is really nice because it's kind of grippy. It'll stick on reasonably well onto this mask. So I can pick this up. I haven't glued it on yet. And now I get the fun of placing it around, putting it up to my face, seeing how I like it. You don't have to glue anything down yet. You might want to put this just off to the side, and as we move into the next set of shapes, you can cut them out and decide at the end, like, oh, I only have one mask. I don't know what I want to do. So we're just going to cut out some shapes together, and then at the very end, you can decide what you want to do for Halloween. I don't know how Halloween is in your area. If any of you want to message in the chat, are you going to be able to go trick-or-treating in your neighborhood this year? Going to be able to go? Or maybe if you're an older person joining us, are you going to go out anywhere outside? And in which case, you're going to want a costume. Or maybe you're just going to hang out inside your house today, next weekend, next Saturday during Halloween. Go ahead and write that in the chat and let me know what your plans are next weekend. Okay. While we're doing that, I've got the metal nose piece up here at the top. My pleats are going downwards. So this is the direction that I plan to use this mask. I've got my mustache. Okay. Now at first glance, right, I said I would just put it in the center and want to glue it down. However, as I pointed out, if you don't want your mustache sticking off the tip of your nose and straight out from your face, you're going to need to put this on and find out exactly where the center line is on your face. And then you're going to need to see how far down to come off of your nose. So you can go ahead and do that now. I actually have a mirror right in front of me, so I can put this on my face and find out. But for the purposes of explanation, I'm going to switch that camera around again. Hi there. Here's my mustache. Okay, so I've got this on where it fits on my face. If you wear glasses usually, you're going to want to make sure you have your glasses on so you can see how that works. Here's my nose, and it kind of sticks out far. I want to be under my nose, which is somewhere around here. Okay. So I know that I want my mustache to be somewhere way down here. Notice if it's on top of or underneath that first pleat. That's what I use as my reference. And for me, it's actually underneath this first pleat. So keeping that in mind, that is where we're going to glue. Now comes to my first tip to you about using hot glue. I'm an experienced hot glue user. I use hot glue for lots of things. When you're crafting a lot, and even costumes, you know, sometimes you just don't have the sewing skills and you really want that thing on there. So there's nothing wrong with using some hot glue. I want to have this right where I want it. I know exactly where I'm aiming for, and then I'm going to go in with the hot glue, just the smallest amount, and then stick the mustache on. Here's what I suggest. I suggest just putting enough hot glue that really it just captures the middle of your shape and it adds it onto the mask. If you were to outline this entire shape and then stick it on, you run the risk of letting it ooze out on the sides, and that doesn't look very appealing at all. It'll ooze out, and also because the mask is flat on the table, but it's going to be rounded to your face, it might look strange and not sit the way that you want it to. So my suggestion with the glue is just a small amount right in the middle to attach it right where you want to go. And for me, I said that was underneath this first pleat. So what I'm going to do is fold that up and I'm going to aim right here. First pleat, second pleat, I'm going to aim right here onto the second pleat. So here we go, in with the hot glue. The smallest little line you've ever seen of hot glue, right into the center. Now I know that looks a little funny while it's laying flat. This pleat kind of wants to stick up. It looks a little funny, but because we put it on our face first, we know that that was the placement, how far down we wanted to go. So let me turn my camera one more time. You can see I've got a beautiful new mustache, and this would be it. If this was where I wanted to end, this is where I would end for my face costume. I've got a big mustache. There's lots of ways you could embellish this as your face costume. Big mustaches, big lips, something happening here. I recommend filling in those eyebrows, and it could be with face paint. Face paints are nice because they're pretty non-toxic. So for all you young people out there, getting an adult to help you find some face paint, and all I would suggest doing is filling in the eyebrows to either match the color of your mustache, or you could make it a little darker. So that's all I would do with this particular face costume. Is I would make some big bushy eyebrows. You can do things like make big bushy eyebrows out of felt also. That's going to involve using some specialty glues and adhesives that can work on your face. Most notably, things like eyelash glue are really easy, and they're meant to go on your face. But if I don't want to be sticking glue on my face, I would say your next best step is to find face paint, or even perhaps you have an adult in your life that's got some cosmetics like lip liners or eyeliners, and I would just go ahead and fill in those eyebrows. All right, moving on. Did we have any responses to the Halloween question, Mr. Andy?
Yes, one family, Marshall and Michael, are going to go, they believe they will go trick-or-treating.
Oh, excellent. They believe they will go trick-or-treating. Now, Marshall and Michael, I have a question for you. Do you already have a costume in mind? Do you already have a costume in mind? Or maybe the other families out there, do you have an idea for a costume already? In which case, please share them with us, because maybe you have a specific question about how a mask can go with your specific costume. Excellent. Now that we've finished our mustache, I'm going to move on to my next thing, and that is the classic set of teeth. So the first one is just a mustache, not necessarily Halloween-y, but here's a classic set of vampire teeth that I have decided to go with on my mask. Now for this specific example, notice that I didn't just glue them just right in the center. I want to point out that I put this on my face and found out that I needed to go 2 pleats down, and on this third pleat right here was where I needed my teeth to be, because that was going to be a realistic sort of placement on my face. You know, how far down from my nose, from my eyes, how far down should those teeth be? This is further down than the mustache, right? Because these teeth would be protruding underneath from underneath your upper lip, right? They'd be kind of sticking out. So the teeth are relatively straightforward if you think about it. We are talking about they could be as simple as triangles like this. Pretty simple, straight triangles. I actually made quite a few before I landed on this little pair. You'll notice they're kind of little, and I'll show this on my face in just a second, but you could decide to make them really, really big. Teeth are really fun. Triangles are going to be your primary shape, and you're going to want some kind of light colored felt. So either white, if you don't have white and you have something that is lighter color, you could go ahead and try it with that. I've got this like buff color felt, a little bit darker, but still light in this document camera. It looks really dark, but lightly tinted teeth. And the other thing that's fun about teeth is that once you start cutting out triangles, it can be really fun to cut out more triangles, right? So I added just like, if I wanted to add a whole little row of triangles right here between those two big canine teeth right there that are coming out. Or you could just go with the two teeth. Now, you'll notice, let me show an example. The blue is a little bit easier, but if you have just one of these white masks and I go to cut out my triangles from the white felt, let me just cut one out to show an example here. Cut out my triangle. That is really difficult to see on a white background. So it kind of is standing out, but not really. So that is my sort of next technique that I want to bring up to your attention. And that is for any light colored piece of felt shape that you're going to use on your mask, you're going to want to glue it on top of a dark background. So here I've actually glued these little teeth onto black felt. And that gives it the contrast to actually stick out. The color will actually stick out and pop out on the mask. So essentially, you can draw your design, triangles in the case of the teeth. You could get the shapes a little more, if you wanted them to be curved, go ahead and do that. But you won't just be cutting out white. You're also going to need to cut out something on a darker background. So either black felt or gray felt. I have both of these. You could use either. Those are nice and dark enough. So for example, now when I lay this white triangle onto this gray background, and again, either use your paper to cut out your pattern and follow along, or if you're pretty comfortable and confident already, it's fun to just kind of freeform it, get your scissors out. And I have now, see how much more that tooth actually sticks out now. So that's what I do. I'd make a second pair, another pair of these teeth. And again, I had to come down onto the third pleat. So it wasn't way up here by the nose. I had to come down onto the third pleat to glue those down. And of course, you want it to be centered in your face, on your face, right? I'll put this one on just a second to show you what that kind of looks like. Excuse my big hand that comes across the camera. So here are my teeth. Dracula is always a fun costume. You can do a black cape. And in terms of any face, what you want to do added to your face, wigs are always fun. Or again, I would just go to the eyebrows, especially in this time of year, we're trying not to touch our face so much. And it's like all the eye makeup. You can do that if you want to, but honestly, I just recommend go for fun shapes on your eyebrow, and it'll add right to the fun with your face costume. All right, Mr. Andy, have we had any responses?
We had one that said there would be a dragon this year.
Ooh, a dragon! Excellent. When I think of dragons, I think of like a big snout and lots of teeth. So I just want to show this. I know I drew this on here. I drew my big pointy teeth, and I drew some little teeth in between. I just want to show you that the first pair of teeth that I made these really big teeth. And again, I glued them onto the third pleat. I came down, they're really wide. And so when I put this with just those teeth on my face to check it, they seemed too big. They just seemed too big to just be standing there by themselves. So I added these little sharp teeth in the front. I'm going to hold this up to the camera a little bit higher. I added these tiny little triangles in between to be my teeth. And you'll notice I added a little strip of red to be kind of like the mouth. And I wanted to go with green. I was thinking some kind of reptile. This isn't quite a dragon, but I went with green felt to do some kind of nose. And I added little nostrils that were dark. So I'm not sure exactly what kind of creature this is. I guess I had Muppet in my head when I was thinking about it, but you know, that could help you with your dragon. You're gonna want the snout to be pronounced. You might, if you're a green dragon, you might be some other kind of dragon. You're gonna want your snout to be really pronounced, and then you might have these big fang teeth. When I also think of dragons, dragons kind of have that little mustache going on. They have a little mustachy thing going on, so you might want to add, you know, some whiskers or something like that off of your dragon. That sounds real fun. Have fun with that. Is anyone else out there, do they have any costumes in mind? And if they wanted to share that in the chat, please let me know. I'm going to move on to our...
They asked if they could see the dragon mask.
Oh, on my face. Absolutely. You sure can. Okay, here we go. Yep. And one tip that I will say here is that I held this big piece of green onto my face, because remember, your nose, the nose pincher thing is going to be rounded right here, right? So I wanted to make sure that I knew that this felt needs to come and round over right here, especially on that metal bar. And then you'll notice that I actually cut the felt to come up above the mask, so it kind of is coming all the way up my nose, just like this. Sometimes the teeth stick out at a funny angle. That's why I was thinking Muppet. It's not very scary, is it? but yeah, that's okay. Thanks. I'm excited to hear about any other costumes that other people might be doing this year. Otherwise, I'll move right along. Okay, here's a fun shape. This was my take on a clown face. So clowns, well, maybe you don't like clowns, that's fine with you. I personally like clowns. You don't have to go full white face, you know, and just all the scary, big, scary, exaggerated. I wasn't thinking scary clown. I was thinking friendly clown here. But the most important aspect of any clown is going to be the red nose. So here, just a circle. So we're doing a circle, and again, I've got red felt, so I'm using some red. The red stands out nicely against the background of my mask, so I didn't feel that I needed any kind of contrast color behind the shape. This you do want on your nose, and even better if you can get this red nose circle to be at that point on the mask where it's the tip of your nose, so it will be sticking out away from your face. If you can find that point, that's the perfect place where you want this circle to be glued on. I wanted to be a happy clown, so I went with this big exaggerated sort of half circle. I kept it really thick. And then instead of just having the red half circle, I added this little tiny trace of black felt. So you can see that there. So that's what I did. The other things I could have done was I could have done white underneath the red and sort of stacked that out and made that kind of look even more contrasty and a little more circusy. But I went with this. This is pretty simple shape. Since it seems like you guys are enjoying me putting it on my face to show you, I can do that with this one. Why not, right? Okay. So here's two things about being a clown. Now, if you don't, I can't help you if you want to be a scary clown. That's up to you. You want to add crazy teeth and all that. But to be a friendly, happy clown, again, it's that nose. And you'll see that is the tip of my nose, so it's sticking out away from my face, the mouth. To complete this look, I need to do eyebrows here. So that will complete this look. I wouldn't have to do much else. If you have a wig, a clown wig, you could add a clown wig. If you don't, that's okay. I do recommend then the eyebrows. Don't forget your eyebrows. And for this, I would probably try and match this crazy half circle in the opposite direction on top. So that's what I would go for. And I would probably just use black so it stands out really in contrast on my face. So there you go. That is the friendly clown. Idea again, I can't help you if you want to be a scary clown. No scary clowns. We like happy, friendly clowns. I'm going to move on to my next subject here, which is the classic jack-o'-lantern. Why not turn your face into a jack-o'-lantern? Now, there are tons of YouTube tutorials out there that'll show you how to turn your actual face into a pumpkin and then into a jack-o'-lantern. Lots of face paint required. It would be full face paint, which is kind of a lot if you've never done it, because you scratch your face and then it smears and it gets kind of itchy. This is way easier. How about you just make a face mask, which has your classic jack-o'-lantern face on here. This is one of those things I recommend getting that sheet of paper out, okay? And if you need actually to draw yourself a little pumpkin shape to kind of help envision that, you know, obviously your eyes are going to be the real eyes up there, but that might help you. If you're like me, I need to see where the eyes are first before I can, you know, draw my pumpkin shape here. So I kind of want a nose like that. And then we know the mouth is going to fill in this way. And the classic sort of jack-o'-lantern, right, is definitely, I like to go in more of a smiley face, but the triangles, essentially what you're trying to get is a set of triangle pointy teeth is what you hope to end with, right? Now, you could just cut out a bunch of triangles and place them. Well, what's happening here, though, is that when you carve your pumpkin, you're taking shapes out to leave the pumpkin face. What we're going to do here is we're actually thinking about what the shape of this mouth is. We're going to cut that shape out from some kind of dark felt, in this case black, or if you have a dark gray, right? So it might help to draw your jack-o'-lantern face. Once you get a mouth that you really like, go ahead and cut that right out from the paper. Then you've got the exact pattern that you want. You'll cut that from the felt. Sometimes it can be really difficult. This is just one face idea. Here's another face idea. I don't know if any of you have ever seen those sort of funny shaped ones where the mouth is kind of like rounded, right? Maybe there's a tooth up there, maybe not. You can do a little bit more rounded of a mouth shape for your jack-o'-lantern, but I would say the classic is kind of this jagged tooth. So, So here's my first example, and I used dark gray, and I cut out this jagged. You do want it to come all the way across, so you're going to want the length to go as wide or wider than the actual mask. If you go a little bit wider and it's sticking off the ends, that'll be just fine. It'll actually add to it. You want the actual shape to be wider. You're going to want a nose on there, and again, that nose piece, you do want that sticking at the end of your nose, okay? And these eyes are going to be your face up there. I'll put this one on and show you what I would do to complete this look. And if any of you actually have orange colored masks, maybe that would help, because if you actually want to be orange, you totally could. You could, you know, then do your face orange and all that. I don't recommend it because it gets itchy and you touch your face and it's all messed up. So what I recommend to finish this look is I'm going to make those two triangles, but I'm going to use my eyebrows. That's what I'm going to use. So let me see if I can find some dark felt to show you this. Like, I know this is felt, but this is what I would draw onto my face, is a triangle, and it's above my eyebrow. That way I don't have to worry about actual face paint or makeup on my eye, just do it above your eyebrow. So much easier. And then it's actually far enough away from the nose and mouth. That's my recommendation. Triangles above your eyebrow to finish off that look. If you're really crafty and you want to go one step further, you're going to need a headband, and you're going to make your little stalk and stem and leaf at the top of your head. So that would complete your jack-o'-lantern. Jack-o'-lantern look. I have one more tip to share about the jack-o'-lantern, and that is, let me move this one. So I did a round mouth here, but I wanted to play with that contrast idea. So this is just a suggestion. I had orange ribbon lying around. I didn't have any orange felt, but I did have orange ribbon. So I went through and I cut out my shapes in felt, and then I glued ribbon to the backside, this orange ribbon. And now it actually, it stands out a little bit more. It's got that tint of orange right off the black, and it screams pumpkin just a little bit more than this, which is just the gray on the mask background. So there you are, those two examples right there. Okay, move on to my next example, unless there are any outstanding questions. Here is my next example. I didn't hear anyone say this, but animal faces, right? Those are kind of a classic one. Do some kind of animal. In this case, I wanted to recreate a cat. So if we think about our cat face, to me, the things that stand out are that the cat, okay, it's got those ears at the top. Well, we can't do anything about ears right now because we're dealing with the lower part of the face. We can talk about those in just a second, though. There's an easy way to make those on felt and a headband. But we're thinking about, okay, they've got that nose. They've got some kind of nose. And then from the nose, they've definitely got whiskers going on. You want to think about what's the focal point here. It's whiskers, and it's the little cat nose, which when you Google, just cat face illustrations, it's going to be this upside down triangle. So that's the shape we're going for, is an upside down triangle with whiskers. If you wanted to add more of the mouth, you could, just some kind of tiny little mouth. They don't have big mouths, right? Cats don't have big mouths, so you want to keep that tiny. But I would say for the cat mask, our focal point is going to be this little nose, and it's an upside down triangle, and from there the whiskers. I'm gonna hold this a little closer so you can see. There we go. I did use red felt here, but I know that a cat nose would actually be a little more pink, not just red. So I have this buff color felt underneath the red. I was trying to make it a little more pink than red. But I only had red to work with, and if you only have red, that is okay too. If you've got other stuff lying around, I do recommend rummaging through your closets or your craft stuff. If you had yarn, you could glue down yarn on top of this triangle if you have pink yarn. I was rummaging around. I've got these tapes. They're all glittery, but I've got all these different tapes. I think this is used for, what is that called? Scrapbooking. Scrapbooking, yeah. Now, the adhesive on this is terrible. It doesn't actually stick. But what I would do, because I found that, I made my triangle, I would actually cut out a triangle in this glittery pink, and I would just hot glue it down right onto the nose. So it's going to be a glamorous kitty. This is very glittery. Maybe you don't want it to be a glamorous cat, and that's okay. You could just stick with the red. Maybe you want to be an angry cat. I don't know why you would want to be an angry cat. You could be a little angry cat, and you could add, if you want to have your little teeth sticking out, that That's fine too. I'm going to add just one little dot of glue and stick that right on there. Again, less is more with that hot glue. Otherwise, you're going to just be dealing with all the little stringles coming off of it. Okay, let's talk about these whiskers a second, because any animal you do, you might need to include whiskers. These I cut from black felt. And essentially all I did was cut really thin strips, really, really thin, as thin as my scissors would allow me to cut felt strips. And you can do that. I am going to caution though that instead of just gluing them here, I did have to glue out kind of far underneath. And again, you're going to risk having hot glue ooze out, and that doesn't look very good. Just you can see I have a little bit oozing out up here. So you either have to be really good with your hot gluing or just, keep that in mind, because you're going to kind of need to glue it out far. If I were only to glue it here, and I think I can show it on this side, once you hold this upright, like these two whiskers, they kind of fall flat and they get stuck to each other. I'm going to put this on a second to show you the rest of what I mean. Okay, these whiskers look sad. They're like stuck to each other. It's going to look like I have a mustache, a cat nose and a mustache, instead of just being a cat. Okay, so the way around this, and again, my nose is right at the tip of my nose. Whiskers, I want my whiskers to be perky and, bright, and they're ready to go. The next best thing you could do is using paper, and even construction paper. Here I've got specialty, this is velvet specialty paper, and it's really stiff. So I could have cut little straight pieces like that off of the paper, glued those on because they're very stiff. Your next best option, if you have access to any pipe cleaners, which apparently at the store they call these fuzzy sticks now, not pipe cleaners. I don't know why. Obviously these are crazy colors, and if I was, wanted to be a neon cat, I could do that. These are nice because they're very stiff. They'll hold the shape. So I just folded them right over. And I folded them over. Those would be some gigantic whiskers, but they would stick out and they'd be perky. After that, your next best option that I suggest are these craft feathers that stick out and they stay perky just by themselves. So I could make whiskers out of feathers as well. Let me do this. Let's go back down to the table. Okay. Whiskers. Back to the cat. On this cat, I have added that sparkly little nose right there. To complete this look, all I would do is I would want to add some ears. Ears are pretty important to complete your cat look. And so I would find a headband. I just happen to have a pink one. It could be any color, it doesn't matter. And actually, if it's clear or black or blank, that's even better. Okay. Cat ears are definitely going to be something that completes this look. Any animal face that you do, having ears is going to be what you want. So really quickly, I'm just going to show you how I would go about making ears really quickly. I want these ears to stick up. Okay, we're aiming for the top of the headband. And it can be as simple as cutting out those triangles from my black felt, right? The thing about this is I want them to stick upwards. So I'm actually going to need to create a triangle that's bigger than I think I want from the felt. I don't know if you can actually see that drawing on there. You can, great. I'm going to create a triangle that's bigger than what I initially want. And when I cut this out, I'm actually going to split it right here at the bottom. And I'm going to kind of use these as flaps and overlap them and glue them down onto the headband. Let me show you what that looks like right now. And Andy, check on the, how are we doing on time and on any questions?
No question.
Okay, great.
10 minutes.
Okay, great. I'm actually going to use this white background. This will work Here's my little one ear. Okay, I didn't actually cut all the way down to the ends here. I actually see how I left those a little bit straight. I'm going to cut those a very little bit. Let me show you. That's how far up I've cut. If that makes any sense. Just like half an inch, quarter of an inch. Okay, so now that I've got this and I've got this little flap here, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take these two ends in like so. Let's see if you can see that. Here's a side-on view. I've got these two little flaps and I am crossing one foot over the other. Just think of it like that. See if you can see that. But now, if I were to glue it down in this way, see, let me show you downwards, crossing one flap over the other, it's gonna stand up this way by itself. And so the two flaps, cross it, tuck it on underneath itself. And I'm literally just I'm gonna hot glue across here, and then I'm gonna stick that onto my headband. Okay, so, and you see how this definitely has like a convex and a concave shape. Like there's definitely, you definitely want that shape to go forward. That's how a real ear would work, right? Like you're picking up the sound. So you just want to be mindful of that. But I'm going to glue this on right now just to show you. It doesn't have to be any more embellished than this, what I'm showing you right here, although it could be. If you want to add, you know, have some really glamorous ears, you totally can. But I recommend just that amount. So here's my headband. And here, doesn't go right on the top of the head, it goes off to the side. Obviously, I would need my other ear over here. I would be adding my other ear right to here, the center of the headband. And now you've got a really easy headband. You've got the cat ears, and you've got your cat nose and whiskers. There you go. And that's all I would do. I would not even bother with face paint. That's where I would stop this costume, is right here. Obviously, wearing all black or whatever kind of cat you are, and a cat tail, really fun. But I would stop right there. Okay, I'm going to talk about one more type of animal face, and that is kind of more like a dog or a bear. I made another animal face here. There's a nose, but it's a different shape, whiskers, and a little mouth. So let me show you the comparison. The cat nose was an upside down triangle. Here I've got a different animal, which is actually more of a triangle pointed upwards, and I made the bottom round. The other thing I did here was I added a little mouth and a little tongue in red. I'll hold this up a little closer. Again, with the whiskers, I just did felt and I glued them all the way down, but you could have done pipe cleaners. You can do that thicker construction paper, feathers, kind of really fun to go with any of that. One more thing I'm going to point out that I did special with this face is, notice I'm opening the pleats. You can open the pleats up. I open the pleats, and I did include, this is on the inside of a pleat, so when it's folded down, you don't even see it. I included another little piece of felt here, and I'll put that on and show you what that looks like, but let me draw it out. I was kind of going for a look like this, right? Whether that's like a bear or a dog, okay? So this line coming down felt important to keep. And in order to keep it, that meant that the pleat was gonna have to open up and I was gonna have to put another piece of felt right there. I'll put this on my face so you can see what that looks like. This is kind of where it gets tricky between flat on the flat mask and the round around your face. So when it's on your face, you pull those pleats open, you know, and you can actually see that now. So I've got a little tongue, mouth here. Now, if this was supposed to be a dog or something, you know, you could be a Dalmatian, you could add spots or something like that. Again, I would go for some kind of ears. Dogs' ears aren't, unless they're certain type, they're not usually up. They're usually kind of that folded over look. So you'd want more felt and you'd want them to come and droop over. That could be on a headband or even just on a some kind of ribbon or cordage or even yarn. And then from there, you're going to attach those pieces of felt. And let me see if I can get a big one. Big floppy piece of felt, nice and big. And you're going to want enough so that when it folds over, it's just going to hang down. This isn't quite the shape of a dog ear, but I'm just trying to show you what I mean by that. Got enough piece of felt that it drapes down. And it would drape off of that headband and drape over next to your head. So you'd want to match some matching ears to go with your animal face for sure. Okay, awesome. There's a few more things to show you. If there are any questions, please put them in the chat. Last thing I want to mention, I'm going to show you some extra embellishments that I just pulled from my own crafting closet. Might look different from yours, but you can virtually use anything to jazz these up. I already showed you the tape with glitter. Maybe you've got some of those plastic rhinestones. Those are super easy to glue on. You're going to want to think about placement on those because you're going to be wearing this for a while, so you don't want it to be in your face or in your way. Maybe you've got appliques lying around, things that are already built, especially Halloween themed. So maybe you're not going with an animal at all. Maybe you just want to do like a theme, like a Halloween theme. And I would not recommend putting an applique right in the middle of your face. That is going to seem really weird and silly. If you're doing more of like a themed thing, like here, maybe we're doing flowers, I would start up in the corner and just kind of add more things spreading off of there. So it's not in the middle, it's off to the side. Appliques, you might have some old ribbon lying around. Here I've got some sparkly ribbon, lots of different kinds of ribbon and cordage. You might even have some bling type glue on. These usually come as like self-adhesive, and I would never trust its own self-adhesive. It's not going to be sticky enough. So again, you're going to be working with the hot glue and actually gluing that down. You might have some sparkly cordage. Other fun things is if you have an old Halloween costume. I love repurposing old Halloween costumes or old costumes. So you might find that you have an old shirt or something and you could cut the lace fringe off of. Excellent thing to use here, the lace fringe. You might find that it had some like bead style. These are plastic beads, so they're not very heavy. You could cut those off and start adding them. You might even have something with fringe. Now I bought this fringe, it comes like this. This would be fringe that hangs down. That could be kind of fun. You could make some kind of fringe face mask there. My absolute last favorite thing, here's the last thing I'm going to talk about. You might even have some old wigs lying around, okay? So I've got a cheaper, older wig. I've worn it for a few costumes, but you know, it's always that thing about like the old wig. Oh, what do I do with this? Well, I don't know about putting it on your face. We'll talk about that in a second. But I was thinking I could cut pieces off of this, okay? Use the felt to wrap it around, and I could create crazy headbands. So this one's fun, just a few pieces of hair, add it onto a headband, and that will really add to your costume in whatever way you want. The other thing you can do with the hair, just an idea, throwing out there, you could, in fact, try and make a beard off your mask. So if any of you wanted to go for the mustache and a beard, you could use an old wig, or you can even use yarn to do that. Of course, you could use felt, but it would look a little more realistic if you're using some kind of fiber to make that beard. Make yourself a mask beard. and head out into the world with your beard. So, oh, here's my crazy head thing. That's all I have for you today. And if there aren't any other questions, thank you so much for joining me. Again, my name is Jillian. I'm with Standout Stilting. And I hope to see you next time. I can't wait to see all those face costumes out there this Halloween. Andy, I'll hand it back to you.
Okay.
I don't know if there were any other questions.
I'm going to pop on. And so we don't have a lot of echo. I'm going to see if I can mute Jillian for just a moment. Maybe I can't. Well, anyway, we are so grateful to have Jillian come in and do this program for us. I hope you got a lot of great options in your face costumes. I know I did. I especially like the Walrus mustache, so I might be doing something like that, or even the jack-o'-lantern. I love that stuff. We do just want to remind you folks, we do have extra kits here if you want to make face costumes at home after the program, and this program will be on our Facebook page, the Taddle Kids, TADL Kids. So if you want to rewatch at some point, you can do that. And then, of course, next weekend on Saturday, we have our scavenger hunt. So hope you can join us for that. Thank you for being here. We're so happy to be able to make something out of this COVID Halloween for you. And I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone. This is my cool cat costume.
That's awesome. This one, kid.